Edible mushrooms are the fleshy and edible fruit bodies of several species of macrofungi. They can appear either below ground or above ground where they may be picked by hand. Edibility may be defined by criteria that include absence of poisonous effects on humans and desirable taste and aroma. Edible mushrooms are consumed by humans as comestibles for their nutritional value, and they are occasionally consumed for their supposed medicinal value. Mushrooms consumed by those practicing folk medicine are known as medicinal mushrooms. While hallucinogenic mushrooms are occasionally consumed for recreational or religious purposes, they can produce severe nausea and disorientation, and are therefore not commonly considered edible mushrooms. Edible mushrooms include many fungal species that are either harvested wild or cultivated. Easily cultivatable and common wild mushrooms are often available in markets, and those that are more difficult to obtain may be collected on a smaller scale by private gatherers. Some preparations may render certain poisonous mushrooms fit for consumption. Before assuming that any wild mushroom is edible, it should be identified. Proper identification of a species is the only safe way to ensure edibility. Some mushrooms that are edible for most people can cause allergic reactions in some individuals, and old or improperly stored specimens can cause food poisoning. Deadly poisonous mushrooms that are frequently confused with edible mushrooms and responsible for many fatal poisonings include several species of the Amanita genus, in particular, Amanita phalloides, the death cap. Mushrooms growing in polluted locations can accumulate pollutants such as heavy metals. History of mushroom use, macrofungi, the act of consuming mushrooms, dates back to ancient times. Edible mushroom species have been found in association with 13,000-year-old archaeological sites in Chile, but the first reliable evidence of mushroom consumption dates to several hundred years BC in China. The Chinese value mushrooms for medicinal properties as well as for food. Ancient Romans and Greeks, particularly the upper classes, used mushrooms for culinary purposes. Food tasters were employed by Roman emperors to ensure that mushrooms were safe to eat. Mushrooms are also easily preserved, and historically have provided additional nutrition over winter. Many cultures around the world have either used or continue to use Psilocybin mushrooms for spiritual purposes as well as medicinal mushrooms in folk medicine. Current culinary use, a fraction of the many fungi consumed by humans are currently cultivated and sold commercially. Commercial cultivation is important ecologically, as there have been concerns of depletion of larger fungi such as chanterelles in Europe, possibly because the group has grown so popular yet remains a challenge to cultivate. Commercially cultivated. Mushroom cultivation has a long history, with over 20 species commercially cultivated. Mushrooms are cultivated in at least 60 countries, with China, the United States, Netherlands, France and Poland being the top 5 producers in 2000. Commercially harvested wild edibles. Some species are difficult to cultivate. Others have not yet been successfully cultivated. Some of these species are harvested from the wild, and can be found in markets. When in season they can be purchased fresh, and many species are sold dried as well. The following species are commonly harvested from the wild: Boletus edulis or edible boletus, native to Europe, known in Italian as fungo persino, in German as Steinpilz, in Russian as white mushroom, in Albanian as and in French the carpe. It also known as the king bolete, and is renowned for its delicious flavor. It is sought after worldwide, and can be found in a variety of culinary dishes. Canthalis cyprius, the yellow chanterelle, is one of the best and most easily recognizable mushrooms, and can be found in Asia, Europe, North America and Australia. There are poisonous mushrooms which resemble it, though these can be confidently distinguished if one is familiar with the chanterelle's identifying features. Canthalis tubiformis, the tube chanterelle or yellow leg, Clitocybe nuda, Bawit, Cortinarius caparatus, the gypsy mushroom, Craterellus cornucopioides, Trompette de la mort or horn of plenty, Griffula frondosa, known in Japan as maitake. A large, hearty mushroom commonly found on or near stumps and bases of oak trees, and believed to have Macropiota procera properties. Garometrius glentithis false morel is prized by the Finns. This mushroom is deadly poisonous if eaten raw, but highly regarded when parboiled. Hericium erinaceus, a tooth fungus. Also called lion's mane mushroom. Hypnum repandum sweet tooth fungus, hedgehog mushroom, urchin of the woods, Lactarius deliciosus saffron milkcap, consumed around the world and prized in Russia. More shallow species morels belong to the Ascomycete grouping of fungi. They are usually found in open scrub, woodland or open ground in late spring. When collecting this fungus, care must be taken to distinguish it from the poisonous false morels, including Garomatra esclenta. Morshalla conica var deliciosa, Morshalla esclenta var rotunda. Tricholyma matsutake. The matsutake, a mushroom highly prized in Japanese cuisine. Tuber species truffles have long eluded the modern techniques of domestication known as trufficulture. Although the field of trufficulture has greatly expanded since its inception in 1808, several species still remain uncultivated. Domesticated truffles include Tuber borchii, Tuber brumale, Tuber indicum, Chinese black truffle, Tuber macrosporum, white truffle, Tuber mesentericum, the bagnolite truffle, Tuber uncinatum, black summer truffle. Other edible wild species. Many wild species are consumed around the world. The species which can be identified in the field, and therefore safely eaten, vary widely from country to country, even from region to region. This list is a sampling of lesser-known species that are reportedly edible. Amanita caesarea, Armillaria mellia, Boletus badius, Trigomphus rutilus, Calvatia gigantea, Calicubi gambosa. Clavariaceae species, Clavulinaceae species, Coprinus comatus, the shaggy mane. Must be cooked as soon as possible after harvesting, or the caps will first turn dark and unappetizing, then deliquesce and turn to ink. Not found in markets for this reason. Corn smut, Cyteria aspiranosi, Cortinarius varicola, Fistulina hepatica, Hygrophorus chrysodon. Lactarius salmonicolor, Lactarius subdulcis, Lactarius fulmus, Laetopus sulphureus. Also known by names such as the chicken mushroom, chicken fungus, sulfur shelf is a distinct bracket fungus popular among mushroom hunters. Lexinum aurantiacum, Lexinum scabrum, Lepiota procera, Macrolepiota procera parasol mushroom. Globally, it is widespread in temperate regions. Polyporus squamosus, Polyporus milleti, Ramariaceae species, Rhizopogon luteolus, Russula. Some members of this genus, such as Olotar, are edible. Sporazis crispa. Also known as cauliflower mushroom. Cius borvinus, Cius granulatus, Cius luteus, Cius tomentosus, Tricholyma terum, conditionally edible species. There are a number of fungi that are considered choice by some and toxic by others. In some cases, proper preparation can remove some or all of the toxins. Amanita muscaria is edible if parboiled to leach out toxins. Fresh mushrooms cause vomiting, twitching, drowsiness, and hallucinations due to the presence of muscimol. Although present in A. muscaria, ibotenic acid is not in high enough concentration to produce any physical or psychological effects unless massive amounts are ingested. Coprinopsis atramentaria is edible without special preparation. However, consumption with alcohol is toxic due to the presence of coprine. Some other Coprinus spp. share this property. Garomatra esclenta is eaten by some after it has been parboiled. However, mycologists do not recommend it. Raw Garomatra are toxic due to the presence of gyrometrin, and it is not known if all of the toxin can be removed by parboiling. Lactarius spp. Apart from Lactarius deliciosus, which is universally considered edible, other Lactarius spp. that are considered toxic elsewhere in the world are eaten in some Eastern European countries, and Russia after pickling or parboiling. Verpa bohemica, considered choice by some, it even can be found for sale as a morel, but cases of toxicity have been reported. Verpas contain toxins similar to gyrometrin and similar precautions apply. Use in traditional medicine. Medicinal mushrooms are mushrooms or extracts from mushrooms that are thought to be treatments for diseases, yet remain unconfirmed in mainstream science and medicine, and so are not approved as drugs or medical treatments. Such use of mushrooms therefore falls into the domain of traditional medicine. Preliminary research has shown some medicinal mushroom isolates to have cardiovascular, anti-cancer, antiviral, antibacterial, antiparasitic, anti-inflammatory, and anti-diabetic properties. Currently, several extracts have widespread use in Japan, Korea and China, as potential adjuvants to radiation treatments and chemotherapy. The concept of a medicinal mushroom has a history spanning millennia in parts of Asia, mainly as traditional Chinese medicine. Only a few mushroom extracts have been tested for potential efficacy. Preliminary research results for most other extracts are on isolated cell lines, animal research with rodents, or early-stage clinical human trials as pilot studies. Preparing wild edibles. Some wild species are toxic, or at least indigestible, when raw. As a rule, all wild mushroom species should be cooked thoroughly before eating. Many species can be dried and rehydrated by pouring boiling water over the dried mushrooms and letting them steep for approximately 30 minutes. The soaking liquid can be used for cooking as well, provided that any dirt at the bottom of the container is discarded. One recipe for auricularia auriculata is to collect it while still soft, wash it thoroughly and cut it into thin slices. The prepared slices should be stewed in stock or milk for around 3/4 of an hour, and then served with plenty of pepper. The result is crispy and not unlike seaweed. The difficult task of identifying mushrooms in the wild, for culinary or recreational purposes, can result in severe poisoning. Production. Vitamin D. Mushrooms that have been exposed to ultraviolet light contain large amounts of vitamin D2. Mushrooms, when exposed to UV light, convert egosterol, a chemical found in large concentrations in many mushrooms, to vitamin D2. This is similar to the reaction in humans, where vitamin D3 is synthesized after exposure to UV light. Testing showed an hour of UV light exposure before harvesting made a serving of mushrooms contain twice the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's daily recommendation of vitamin D, and 5 minutes of UV light exposure after harvesting made a serving of mushrooms contain 4 times the FDA's daily recommendation of vitamin D. High-performance liquid chromatography analysis has also demonstrated the effect sunlight has on mushroom vitamin D2 content. The ergocalciferol, vitamin D2, in UV-irradiated mushrooms is not the same form of vitamin D as is produced by UV irradiation of human skin or animal skin, fur, or feathers. Although vitamin D2 clearly has vitamin D activity in humans and is widely used in food fortification and in nutritional supplements, vitamin D3 is often used in dairy products. See also. References. External links.